Hello, hola. So today is Friday and there's no class today, but you have homework. So go to Google Classroom and look at today's classwork for Friday, and it says cell respiration notes. So you already saw this because if you're watching the video, then you clicked on the video here. So I want to talk about cell respiration, and while I'm doing that, you're going to answer your questions in your notebook. So you can start on a new page and you can call it cell respiration notes, okay? And here are the questions you need to answer in your notebook. And there's in English and also in Espanol. So whichever one you want to read. But these answers should go in your notebook, and we're going to talk about them right now. So let's talk about cell respiration. All right, what does it look like on here? What is cell respiration? Or it says on here, cellular respiration, right? It's energy for cells. It's how we can move, it's how we can grow. We need the energy, right? It's how we can work out and get muscles. It's how you can play football and soccer, all of those things, right? So we need energy, but how? How do we get the energy? So that's what we're going to talk about today. So this is what you should do by the end of listening to the video. You will be able to say how mitochondria helps break down sugar for energy. And we call the energy ATP. That's a name for a type of energy. Okay, so how do we get energy? How do plants get energy? We talked about photosynthesis, right? And photosynthesis is how plants make their own food, right? Like in the picture over there, the sun and the water and the carbon dioxide are what plants need to make food. So they make their own energy. They get it by themselves. But we have to eat, right? We need to eat in order to be able to get energy. So that's what it says here, plants. Sugar is made from the sun's energy. So plants do photosynthesis to get energy. They make sugar called glucose, right? And animals, they have to eat. So we have to eat. We can't make our own food inside of our bodies. Okay, so what happens to the food we eat? There's this thing called digestion. So digestion breaks down big things into small things. So it breaks down these things called carbohydrates. They're in the food that we eat. And then we break it even smaller into a sugar, like glucose. And glucose is what we can use for energy. Okay. And we saw this, we talked about this when we talked about photosynthesis. This is how we write glucose in chemistry. It's called a chemical formula, right? C6H12O6, and this is what it looks like, but it's really, really small. Okay, so we eat food, and then our stomach and our esophagus and our mouth, all of those things help break it down. We make it smaller so that we can use it in our bodies. Okay, so how? How does that happen? How do we get the small thing and then we make it into energy? Well, that's called cellular respiration, or cell respiration for short. Okay, so this is when we take big molecules, big things, and then we break it apart and we release energy. So we make energy, we give the energy, and that makes ATP. Okay, so why? Why do cells have to use ATP? Why can't we just use glucose, and why can't we just use, I don't know, our pupusas and stuff like that to just make energy? It needs to be small. Okay, so this is what ATP stands for. This is what it means. ATP means adenosine triphosphate. Two big words. Those are just the names of the chemical, right? That's why we call it ATP. ATP for short. And what it is, it's like really, really small, but it has energy. It's a small piece of energy. Okay? It's because our body, we can't use big things for energy. We have to use really small things. So that's why we need ATP. We need ATP because it's small and our bodies can use it. Okay, so where does it happen? Where does cell respiration happen? So we know photosynthesis happens in plants, and it happens inside of like the leaves in a place called the chloroplast, right? So that's a part of the plant inside the cell. But for cell respiration, it happens in another place in the cell called mitochondria. It looks funny. It looks like it should say mitochondria or something like that, but it's said mitochondria, okay? And this is what it looks like. This is inside a cell in our bodies. And there's a lot of them inside of your cells. So this is really, 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 really small. Okay, so let's practice here. Cell respiration releases energy by breaking down what? So it makes energy by breaking what? It breaks glucose. Remember, glucose is a sugar that we eat, and then our body has to break it apart. Okay, the function of mitochondria is to. This means, what does mitochondria do? What is its job? What does it do? So it breaks down glucose. It's the one that helps break the glucose apart to make the energy. Okay, and number 3, a muscle cell probably has a lot of what? Which one is in charge of energy? Which one did we talk about? Is where cell respiration happens and where we have a lot of energy. Yeah, that's in the mitochondria. Okay, so for this to happen, cells need oxygen. That's why it's important that we have oxygen, right? And this is what the equation looks like. Okay, we have glucose, oxygen, that's what they need, and then they make carbon dioxide, water, and ATP, which is energy. Okay, so this is how we can write it. It's like, what are the things that we need and what are the things that they make? Okay, so let's take a look. This is the equation. It looks kind of scary, right? But that's okay. Let's see what it means. Okay, so this means sugar. Remember, C6H12O6, that means glucose, and O2 is oxygen. So we have sugar and oxygen. They work together inside of our cells, and then this is what they make. They make carbon dioxide, CO2, and water, H2O, and energy, which is ATP. Okay, the number in front means how many do they make. So it's 1 sugar, there's a pretend one here, and 6 oxygen, and that makes 6 carbon dioxide, 6 water, and 36 ATP energy. Right, so this is what we eat and this is what we breathe and inhale. This is what we exhale, we breathe out. Water, this is what our body uses, and then energy, we use that too. Okay, so let's think. Remember when we talked about photosynthesis? What do plants need? Plants need water, sun, and carbon dioxide, right? And what do they make? They make oxygen and glucose. If you see here, it's the opposite. It's flipped, right? So in cell respiration, we need sugar and oxygen. And in cell respiration, we make carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. So it's the opposite of photosynthesis, right? So reactants means what do we need? Reactants are what we need. So we need sugar and oxygen. Products means what do we make? What do we make? Okay, so let's check which of the following is produced and made during cell respiration. So what gets made? If we go back here, what gets made? The products. Carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. So which one is that? Ooh, I see it. Yeah, D, ATP. Okay, what are the reactants? So what do we need for cell respiration? Remember, it's the opposite of photosynthesis. So what do we need in cell respiration? We need oxygen and glucose. Okay, so we need oxygen and glucose. All right, last question, I think. What is the correct equation? So what do we need first, and then what do we make? See if you can find it. What do we need? We need glucose and oxygen. Oh, I think I found it already. Yeah, it's the first one. We need glucose and oxygen, and we make carbon dioxide, water, and ATP. Okay, so now which one is wrong? Which one is the lie? Yeah, cell respiration takes place in the mitochondria. So it's saying it happens in mitochondria. Okay. Yeah, that's true, right? It happens in the mitochondria. Cell respiration only occurs in plant cells. So that's saying it only happens in plants. Is that true? Maybe. Let's look at the last one. Cell respiration turns glucose, sugar into ATP. That one's true, right? We know that it's sugar and then it breaks down into smaller ATP. So number two is wrong. It's the lie. We do cell respiration too. Plants and animals do cell respiration. Who does photosynthesis? Only plants. But who does cell respiration? Plants and animals, okay? Yes. Okay, great. So, all of these we just talked about. We just answered. So, in my notebook, I'm going to write number 1. How do animals get their energy? Animals get their energy by eating, right? Number 2, what happens to the food we eat? Digestion breaks down carbohydrates. Okay, and number 3, the formula for glucose is C6H12O6. Okay, so you're going to answer all of these questions, and when you're done, please take a picture and send it to me on Remind, okay? So please do this on Friday, and I will see you guys on Monday. Have a good weekend. Bye. Adios.